Okay, it looks like Big Z is starting with King Terentia, Hoppa Vicious, which is awesome because I was really hoping that we'd see the Four Horsemen deck in action. I do enjoy the fact that we get a Four Horsemen deck. It's got Doorstep. I'm a huge Sanctum fan, so this could be pretty.
Oh yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and start this timer here.
Brobnar Sanctum versus Saurian. This is awesome.
All right, so I started the timer. Maybe I should have restarted it. We'll wait until they actually get going. I think they're determining. They've finished their mulligans. So, the rev online here is Matt Hill. And we're at, so let's see what Matt's playing with. He's got Kirkos, the Doctor of Waypath. Some Dis, Logos, and Saurian. It's got, look at that, the Saurus Rex leader, who, interestingly enough, is in hand. I feel like it's a pretty good way to start out the game with your leader. I don't know how relevant that is going to be. This sort of looks like there's a bunch of other Saurian creatures.
Yeah, and he's got the Ideal, which is great in a Saurus Rex deck, along with the Axiom. Both are in hand right now, so he won't need to go search for him, but being able to drop that out, the Logos looks like a pure speed Logos. This deck could do some really fun stuff with Saurus Rex first turn drop.
Oh yeah. That's interesting. So the Axiom comes down just right off the bat. Trying to establish the board, and we'll see what that does. I got the Calipigian on the Saurus Rex is pretty sweet. It's already warded behind the Trisaurian Legionary, and it looks like Matt did pick up another creature to even out the battle line if that becomes necessary.
And Otowak could do some really big work against Big Z's Shadow house here with a bait and switch, too much to protect, and
double Nerve
he's
Blast.
got double Relentless Whispers. Yeah.
This will be pretty interesting. The one thing I noticed when I was looking at this King Terentia deck was there's just so those cleansing waves, or that cleansing wave rather. There's just so many ways to get value out of it. It's got the double poison wave, has double Heap the Huge. It has the horse, which is that Pestilence. One of the I don't actually have a Horseman deck.
Yep. Pestilence is the one that damages everybody. Famine kills the weakest creature on the board, which I actually am currently thinking we'll see Z drop down Sanctum this next turn of his. He might have to pitch the cleansing wave, but I have a feeling that he can't let this Saurian go on for much longer. Yeah, it'll have a tendency to kind of run away with the game. Just collect all of your Saurians. And what's the TTR adage? If you three
have
dinosaurs call Saurian.
Yeah, 3 dinosaurs call Saurian. And that's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. If one of those dinos is Saurus Rex and in the center of your battle line, on top of the fact that now Dilophosaurus has come out, so just like going to continue to get worse.
And they have a wonderful little adage on top of that. If you have Dilophosaurus, you can just call Saurian and win the game.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the Horseman of Famine comes down, drops out the Dilophosaurus, because I have a feeling that if Matt had been able to reap with that Dilophosaurus, it would have been completely over.
Oh yeah. Given how much Saurian was already put down on the board by Matt, Ember count is relatively low, sitting at 2 versus Z, sitting at 4, and Z appears to have established a little bit of Sanctum onto the board. Love to see it, The cleansing wave did come down. What was it? Was it 1 or 2? 1 or 2 off the cleansing wave?
I think it was 2 off the cleansing wave.
2 off the cleansing wave. The relatively tame cleansing wave, given the potential in this deck.
I'm honestly surprised he didn't go in and unstun his Saurus Rex there. That's been kind of holding him back, but he does go into check now because he's got the 2 on Saurus Rex plus the 4 in his pool. So,
Yep. It's gonna take some work to get that Saurus Rex down. It doesn't really look like there's gonna be an option to get rid of the Saurus Rex before that time comes, but we'll see. There is the Grey Monk coming down. Front has an additional armor. That's nice. I wonder, does it look like? Sweet. I think this is a newish change to Kip, where I did notice that the power and the armor on these creatures looks a little bit different. Like, it doesn't look like it's what's printed on the actual card. So it looks like those numbers now increase. So, like, for example, Lady Maxina's down, and on the board shows 5 power and 3 armor. Oh, that's cool. And when the attack happens, the armor is actually removed. That's a nice feature.
Yeah, that's a really great feature from them. I really like that. I'm honestly surprised that he played the Zachiel next to the Horseman of Famine. Or next to the Grey Monk. I figured he'd play it into the Horseman of Famine to drop down another Saurian.
Oh yeah. Zachiel does still have to be a fight. What's going on, Muffins and Lucky Star, I should say. You all have sorted out. We are playing with a 3-minute delay, so our interactions will be a little bit limited with chat, but hopefully that will just mean we can have a cool focus on some pretty sweet games. So it looks like Matt has forged first key. I may have totally just missed that like a million turns ago. No, there you go. Just happened. And goes into Logos. And that was it. Tau, Sanitation, and the Discombobulator. Wow. Look at that. Look at this.
Discombobulator could do a lot of work.
It's just so much steel hate. So that'll be a real interesting detriment against Z's lineup here. As you mentioned earlier, but before, what was it? The Odoak. We got the Odoak before, now the Discombobulator comes down. It's just kind of relentless.
Yeah, this steel hate is actually kind of forcing Z to keep calling down this Sanctum when he's got a handful of not Sanctum.
Mm-hmm. Now this looks like a pretty nice Saurian turn with the one redder, and I guess it will prevent the key from Z. I wonder if you almost wish, if you're Matt, that you could tax to 9. I wonder if that's something you wish you could do, but at the same time, there's definitely a whole lot of Ember Burst potential from Z's deck with, well, I guess a lot of it's steel, so maybe some of that is negated. Either way, you don't want to feel like the tempo change of holding them off key is pretty useful. Now I didn't actually note I don't think there's any type of key cheats, right, for Z here, so that tempo can be a really good deal.
There's 0 in either of these decks, and I'm surprised by that Brutodon Auxiliary on the flank next to the Redder. I would have put it next to the Sanitation Engineer to protect that Discombobulator, which could come up very huge in this map.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, Matt does have an Obsidian Forge. I missed that.
As you mentioned, looks like they've gone after, prioritized taking down the Sanitation Engineer to get rid of that Discombobulator. Definitely interesting because the Tricerian Legionary was already there protecting that Redder. So pretty interesting decision there. See if it comes back to cause some issues. And the Horseman of Famine also to destroy Redder. How does that work? Oh, least powerful creature, sure. I'm just gonna further note my ignorance when it comes to the Horsemen because I don't have any. Never played them. Right, so
I have a pretty good Horseman deck, but it is nowhere near on the level of this one that Z is playing.
And things are gonna start to be not great now that Discombobulator's out of the way. That's going to really free up Z to offload some of these Shadows cards, which are going to definitely cause some problems for sure. What is most of the Ember control in this deck, in Z's deck, stealing?
Yeah, most of it. He already went through the doorstep to heaven. Doesn't look like he has any bumpsies or burn the stockpile in Brobnar, so Shadows is really what he needs to get to, and that Discombobulator and that Odoac were really stopping Z from stealing all the Amber that Matt was making.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now Matt's going to steal it all back with that EE on the fringes and that Infernus.
Zorp, 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 zorp. Feed me. Man, EE, it's got to be one of my favorite Worlds Glide cards. So good. Be curious, you think the Obsidian Forge is going to come into play here? Is that a situation where you want to play the Obsidian Forge?
I do think that this is a situation where you play it. You're obviously able to hold your own on the board, and there are enough creatures in that deck that Obsidian Forge could come down to the win with tying it up at 2 keys. You don't really have any artifact control that you're playing against, so I definitely would play the Obsidian Forge.
Sure. And you still got other cards that you can pitch to do some zany stealing. So we see the Infernus come down. Well, EE discards Misery Exploit, purges Misery Exploit to steal 1. The Infernus comes down and purges Horseman of Famine and the Ghostly Hand. That's a nice. Infernus is just so good against these double, triple, quadruple pip cards. It's crazy. It's like, hey, I see you like Amber. How about you don't have any more Amber now? Gone. We see purging both of the Binding Irons to steal 2 more. Discards Inspector to steal another. And as you expected, the Obsidian Forge has been played. Man, what a swing. So Z stole what? 4 Ember? On his previous turn, 3 Ember, 3 or 4 on his previous turn, and it just got all zorped right back up.
He was at 6, and now he was at 1. So
now he's at 1. The itsy bitsy spider, What is it? Climbed up the spider, the water spout, and zorped all your Ember away, and now you're Archon.
That Heeb the Huge was huge there, getting rid of that EE when Matt drew back into 3 discards that I think are pretty good discards.
Yeah.
But now he's at 2nd key on an Obsidian Forge turn. I think he probably at this point would Saurian out the game.
Yeah, and actually it looks like we have the concession from Z.
Yeah, that was a pretty quick one there.
Yeah. It's
proof that Saurians for the first 4 turns of the game tends to swing things a bit.
Z says first game in 35 days. It's a bold strategy. Yeah, I think you're right. There's just a lot of tempo gain when you can get so many cards of the same house early on, and one of those is a leader that allows you to get more cards of the same house. So that's regardless, though, it was a really great game to watch. Pretty.
Oh yeah,
stuff.
It was super fun watching how Z had all the steel there, and he was ready to take back the tempo, and it was just the Discombobulator and the Odoac, and just Matt delayed it long enough that his Saurians could work out that win. As you noted earlier, Z was gaining way more Amber than Matt was, but EE and Infernus don't really care.
Yeah, they don't care one bit. The Rev, Matt, how are you doing?
Hi, buddy. Yeah, all good.
Good. So you got one game in the bucket. Seems like you managed to put some Saurians on the board there pretty early on.
Yeah, the opening draw was pretty handy. Getting Rex in the first hand is fabulous.
Yeah.
and keeping him with the colour pigeon idea, it just generates enough that you can make use of that, and it doesn't make him a liability.
Now, we were a little bit curious. I mean, obviously, you didn't necessarily know coming into this specific matchup what Z was going to be playing. And if I recall correctly, you had to select your starting deck before you knew any of the other decks. What was the kind of the big reason for selecting this deck for you? And in particular, why did you choose to lead with this deck, if that makes sense?
Selecting this deck, I know it's a really solid deck. It was one of those things that the second deck that I've chosen is kind of my most played deck. I'm consistently placing well with that, and I like to kind of protect that when I'm playing elimination format. So that's why that's gone into slot 2, and then it was just looking through my other decks and going, okay, that's the houses I've got set, what fits around that. Thankfully, with Sasha, my second deck, she's playing Mars and Brobnar, which aren't too common in the higher end decks. So it was only really locking me out of Shadows, which left me something really solid. This rate's really high, it plays really well. So I thought, okay, we'll go with that.
Now,
the difficulty is Shadows did lock me out of a few of my higher end decks.
I imagine that's not uncommon. Now, did you expect going into this game, or again when selecting this deck of the more limited options that you had, did you expect that you were going to have such value out of the in this case, it would be the Steel Hate, the Odoak in your Discombobulator? And just kind of a point of note on that, when you played down the Discombobulator, I think Z was sitting on double Nerve Blast, Bait and Switch in hand already, and so basically he had to dedicate a huge amount of effort, maybe not huge, an amount of effort that he probably wasn't wanting to otherwise, to deal with kind of the Steel Hate that you would put out there.
Yeah, it's one of the strengths of the deck, especially in high-end competition, because Shadows is still really popular, and some of the disc stuff with Steel as well. It's just nice to have that Steel Hate for it. So you sit there, you know you're at least comfortable with the amount of it in the deck.
Yeah, I have written down here that Z called Sanctum 3 turns in a row without playing a card.
Yeah, I did spot that, which is a nice one to see. But that horseman was just pinging off those low creatures, which I kept feeding him another low creature with some value to it. So, okay, you can do it again.
Cool. Well, I don't know. Do you have any more questions, Clay?
No, that was an awesome game to watch, Matt, and it looks like we will get to see you for the next round as well. So, good luck.
Excellent. Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much.
No worries. Cheers.